Hello everyone, this is Mohit Patel, Creative Director of my little game design group Cyberverse Studios. This video is part of a series of videos showcasing various projects that either I or my team members and I have worked on. So enjoy and feel free to leave comments below. Hello once again and welcome back to the Developer Diaries. As you can see, I have finally moved past using GameMaker 8 engine and Construct 2 engine and the beginner engines, and I finally started using the bigger software. In this case, I am using Unreal Development Kit, also known as UDK, or Unreal Engine 3. This was one of the first environments that I've created in this engine. This was back in mid-2014 and early 2015 as well. This was just a section of Chicago that I was actually trying to rebuild. It took about 6 to 7 months, and then another 2 months later on in early 2015, simply because I changed projects of which this environment will be in use for. That might sound a little confusing, so let me go back and backtrack. This was the section of Chicago that I was attempting to build. I was attempting to build everything in great detail, but once I got past the buildings, I realized that this was way too much for one person to take on, and I didn't want to subject my team to building an entire city because this was more of a personal project. So I ended up changing it and making it more of a destroyed city. Originally, we planned to make this a team-based game where we would work together and build something similar along the lines of Watch Dogs, because we were very much inspired by that game. But just because of time and because we're still in high school and we have a lot of other responsibilities to take care of, it was hard to maintain the ferocity that especially I had at the beginning of this project. And so I decided to use this city for something else, and I tried, instead of making that game, I tried building an Avengers game, which there is also a trailer for on my channel, and I thought it would be a lot easier because I would just use what I had of the city so far, the destroyed city with all the smoke and fire and everything, and make it about Age of Ultron and a movie tie-in game. That actually didn't work out for the same reasons as the first project. Simply my plans were way too big, the city was way too big, there was no way I could utilize it and have the time to actually build such a huge title while I was still in school and still in the process of having other things to take care of, other responsibilities. So in terms of the plans for those two games, here were the plans for the original game that me and my team wanted to make, similar along the lines of Watch Dogs. There was just way too much involved in it. As you can see on the spreadsheet, there was so much going on here, so much that I wanted to make, so many ideas that we had as a team that we sat down and brainstormed, and it was too much. And we made the same mistake again with Age of Ultron, in the sense that we had a huge amount of plans, a huge amount of ideas. This was a smaller amount of people working on it. It was mostly just me with a bunch of voice actors, and I had voice actors casted, a bunch of friends who were willing to play most of the Avengers, and it was still too much to do in that time. So in terms of that, both projects were abandoned, as you may notice in the description for the trailer on my YouTube channel. It does say that the Avengers Age of Ultron movie tie-in game was cancelled, and in the end it wouldn't have worked out regardless, because as I began to work on smaller things in UDK, and the Kismet system in this game, which is this little menu right here, it wasn't fully fleshed enough. Unreal Engine 3, at least this free version that I'm using, however, wasn't user-friendly, and it would have been very hard to get across the ideas that we had as a team, especially at this age and the amount of knowledge I have about Unreal Engine 3 itself and UDK. It was just very hard to use this engine. I think my plans were just way too big at the beginning. With that said, building environments, however, was easier than ever in UDK, and it was something that I very much enjoyed. It was a lot easier than in GameMaker. I no longer had to use 2D sprites and then view it in the game without knowing how it would look like until I pressed run. Now I could see everything in real time. I could also turn that off. But let's see if we'll leave it on, just for the sake of this all looking really cool. And I was able to get things in small details, and using the viewport system in here was very helpful. How I was able to see different coordinate planes, different versions of everything, so like wire meshes, shadowing, detail lighting, etc., and non-lit versions of everything. And it was very cool to experiment with all of that. Let me show you guys the evolution of this environment using screenshots that I took. So originally, when we first planned for that Watchdog style game that we wanted to develop, we also wanted it to take place in Chicago, which is why we decided to build that. I originally had different textures for all the buildings, and I realized it kind of looked a bit cartoony, so I changed it to one texture, and in the end it started looking a lot more realistic because of that change. Here's a view from the bridges, and the city looked very much different without all the destruction and everything, and it looked very blocky too, which is why I thought that going into full detail would take a lot of time and effort, time that I didn't have, that I still wouldn't have if I tried to revisit this project. And here are very different views, but graphically this was a lot better than anything I've made in the past. But gameplay wise, UDK is very hard to harness in order to get exactly what I want in the game, which is why I currently use UE4 at the time that I'm recording this developer diary, because it's a lot more user friendly and easy to work with. So let's browse through these screenshots. Lighting was very refined, very easy to use, very easy to point. And as we browse through these screenshots, you'll notice that at Street View I didn't account for street width that well, so streets were very small. There were a lot of building plans that didn't work out as well as I wanted them to, which is another reason why this project was abandoned. Here's a top view, another top view, and then here's a view that's also just shows the shadows and the light on our map. And then here's another top view that we would have actually used for our in-game map, but we didn't get that far. And then here's after we started putting in the rocks, before we put in all the particle effects and stuff, when I was trying to develop the Avengers Age of Ultron movie tie-in. Then I decided to put in fog, and in the end the city started looking a lot better using the destruction, the fog, etc. And it was immensely beautiful. And there was our Iron Man mesh that we were using at the time. I showed the back side of him because the front side actually was not complete. And yeah, those are all the screenshots. That's the evolution of the city, and that's pretty much all I wanted to show in this developer diary. Just because some of the viewers who saw that trailer that we uploaded last year may have been wondering what happened to the city, to this project in general, and whether we were just joking with them or not. So no, we were not joking, but it's just that this project didn't work out as well as we wanted it to. But yeah, this was a more in-depth view of everything. We even wanted to connect it to the Spider-Man universe, so we had the Oscorp building, we had everything fully built out, and it was just incredible the amount of detail that our team members and I just thought of when we sat down and thought about what would go in this game. So again, thank you for watching this developer diary, and I'll see you guys in the next one.